We the real thing.
What's going on, Kansas City? What's going on, world? You're now watching Politics is War.
Legendary to 42.
We'll get started here just in a second. King Kie playing in the back. If you have not subscribed, get to his page.
Beyond earthly views, who the newest surveyor proved that my car's grand. A stargazer started off with small paper. Now we spend Benjamins.
Looking a little bit better. I'm still working on getting it slightly lighter in here, but the screen actually looks good on everything.
See my pride but victimized in its arrogance. My inheritance valuable as my DNA. The dread the day will be scot-free.
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on, fam? Yeah, we getting it in. I don't know. I think this may be Instagram right here. We getting it in, fam, all the way from Louisiana. Shout out to my brother B. Co. Tonight, we're going to get into some world news and we're going to give an update on the county executive process. So I went down there earlier today, right? And I knew it was going to be some bullshit, but I went down there anyway. And I got several interviews from people. Now, before I do any of these interviews, I would like to state that none of these candidates qualified, right? So they started the interviews at 2 p.m. I left probably about 4:10, 4:15. Before I left, it was already stated that they probably was going to have the next county executive selected that night. And the reason I started off by none of these candidates that I'm going to show you were qualified is obvious. It's obvious that it was a setup process and none of the actual candidates, I ain't gonna say none of them, the majority of the candidates that applied did it out of the goodness and the desire to do something positive in the county, but they came up against probably political collusion. So let's take a look at the first item. I'm just gonna kind of run through it and update the process. And Phil Lavota is the new county exec. We'll get to that here in a minute. If y'all got any questions, go ahead and ask as we're going.
Okay, can you tell the people what your name is?
Hi, I'm Christine Taylor Butler, and I have lived in Kansas City since been running for interim council executive.
So what motivated you to put your name in the selection process?
Actually, I had several people.
Now this is Miss Taylor. She was pretty nice.
If I have to do that, I'm certainly willing to do that. I hope they don't just
Let me see if I can find the part.
You can't say the house that I'm living next to.
Her major issue was coalescing the county government and tax issues.
Now I'm stirring the pot. Now I got to turn it on me too. Was it actually to get him reelected? So this is one of the questions that I proposed in the segment that I did on Frank White. So you got Frank White, who's executive. He's the manager. He's supposed to oversee everything. But you have a department that's responsible for the assessment. Hold on. You had a political organization that carried him to office, right? In that political organization, the husband of the assessor is the treasurer. So how much leverage or benefit factor was it for him, or was it more of a benefit factor of the assessor's department not being touched? Because he looks more like a scapegoat than the...
All right, I'm about to come in on her answer. Tell me if that's a little bit better. I'm hearing feedback though from that. Turn it up. So let me turn that down just one more time. And I'll paraphrase. So basically, I was asking her about the assessor's process because she stated what she would do as county executive. Now, there's a 10-month imprint in the new interim county executive and what they would actually be able to do. The assessor office, again, is for those that haven't been watching, is tied in to an ultra political organization. And my fear is that regardless of who they're puppeteering as the executive, the tax issue isn't going to get fixed, nor is it going to get addressed. And we're going to see an influx of county persuasion when it comes to the stadium being solidified. And that's my opinion when it comes to the imprint of the stadium being solidified. What she had got to state, I don't know if you actually be able to hear it, but she stated that she's not tied in to any political organization. I'll see if you can hear it.
I didn't ask. So go ahead. No, you good.
I doubt y'all be able to hear hers because hers was kind of low. But basically, she was saying that she's not tied into a political organization and she wouldn't have an issue addressing the assessors department. Most of the individuals that I interviewed did the same thing. This young man right here is Kevon. Kevon Graves, I believe, is 29 years old. And I asked Kevon a very specific question. I think,
As an educator, do you feel that you can do a approximate assessment of a child in 4 to 5 questions?
No, impossible.
Really?
Not in 45 questions.
You don't think you could tell if a child has autism or ADHD or repressed issues in 4 to 5
I
questions?
say no, just for the fact that I teach second grade and I know how the brain works. 4 to 5 questions, you need kids that's not paying attention or can't fully understand the questions. So somebody can understand it.
and again, Kevon's a little low. So what I asked him is, can you do a proper, he's an educator. I asked him, can you do a proper assessment of a kid's mental state in 4 to 5 questions? The reason I asked him this is for those that haven't been following along with the fictitious county process. All 12 candidates was given 3 minutes to actually talk, roughly 3 minutes to talk, 3 to 4 questions that they was asked. And an interview process to become your new county executive. So again, with Kevon, he's 29, and I'm actually encouraging him to stay involved in the political process. And I'm going to paraphrase another question, just because I know we're having issues with their audio. Another question I asked Kevon was this process, would it discourage him or people in his generation from getting involved in the political process? And he came back saying no. And I actually encouraged Kevon and Justin Horn to get on. If I see them get on tonight, I'm gonna try to share the camera with them so they can talk about their experience down there. He said no. The process went from Thursday to Monday. So Thursday there was a media notice that it was going to be an online process to be able to apply for a county exec. Today, Monday, they had the 2-hour committee hearing where they went through and they heard from residents. Let's keep on again.
Caliber of questions did you get asked?
Questions I got was kind of prepared. One was on my prepared was 3 questions out of the 12 questions I got.
But he said he got 3 questions out of 12, out of the 12 people.
2 questions I got was asking about my age. Then asking if I was like I'm ready enough for this with my age. So it was kind of just repetitive questions that only looking.
And he said he got the same repetitive questions. I'm going to go to some national videos that I know are going to actually be more sound appropriate. But he talked about the 3 questions he got. His age, he said he got asked that twice. If he was a Democrat and if he would be ready because of his age. This is your new county exec. I'm not going to play the audio because I'm already seeing that the audio from the live event is not playing. But this will be your new county executive. We'll do an in-depth expose on Mr. Lavoda. He is the brother of former Senator Lavoda, who actually had to leave because of a sexual scandal. So I'm not sure how much cleaning up of the courthouse we're doing. But my question in the post was, is this Columbus Day or Indigenous Day? And if it is Indigenous Day, are we willingly repeating history? And if it isn't Indigenous Day and it's Columbus Day, are we celebrating the reclassification of colonization that's on display across the nation? And with that, not surprised, are you not surprised by the glad we had black candidates? Before I go there, man, we had black candidates. So you had The lady that I just had on, you had Kevon. I think they was the only two, no, and Justin. But I think Justin classifies himself as like multi-race. So you had Kevon, and you had a young lady, and you had Justin. But the problem with the process is there wasn't real candidates, not Kevon or the lady or Justin, because they actually went down there with a desire. But the process was set up from point A to point B. How can you, as a resident of Jackson County, and I'm gonna get back to the national, but try to catch questions as they come in. How can you, as a resident of Jackson County, be comfortable with a selection process that took less than 2 days, two hours, not 2 days, less than 2 hours? The application process was due Monday the 6th at 12 p.m. The interview process was today for 2 hours. In the application process, I believe you could have submitted a resume. I don't think it was a necessity. Kevon, I see you on here. If you could let us know if you had to submit a resume. I know certain people had resumes at the interview process, but there was no time frame notified before the candidates arrived. Right? Because I asked several candidates. I asked them when would the selection process be, and nobody knew. It wasn't articulated to around 4 something that they was going to select today. And my question is, how can you do a serious inquiry, investigation, and selection all in the same time frame? Or even if it was a week, let's say it was a week. Let's say they read through the application and the only question on the application was if you're a Democrat. So let's say they read through the application and they read the Democrat question intently and got a very good understanding that there's a Democrat or not. And then they just needed to see the face with the posture on Monday. But that would still be fucking fundamentally stupid as a electorate to allow your elected officials to say this is the premise of their decision. And if you good with it, I'm with it. Yes, they wanted us to send a resume. Was that pre-interview? Or was that just today? Because I know a few people had resumes with them today. And another question as you're answering it, Kevon, when did they notify you that you had to have a resume? Was it after you did the application process or prior? And all of this is important because it seems like they were stitching together public optics as the selection process was going on just to make it look like it was a fair process. And again, your new county executive isn't a novice to politics. His brother was a former senator. And if I had to put a bet on it, I had to cash in, I would say you're going to see an appointment within a year. Right? I told you guys last week that whoever they selected wouldn't be necessarily beholden to the electorate. They wouldn't be accountable to the electorate body. And seeing how they came up with a certificate that they had to authenticate today or the other day that said that they would not run next year, that shows you that they can do whatever the fuck they want. And it creates a great cover, right? It creates a great cover for everybody. Yeah, I believe they already chose, bro. And it's not hard to see. I think Playboy A, which I believe would have been McGee, wasn't able to quietly get out of media scrutiny. So they came with Playbook B, and Playbook B would be auxiliary connection. So now we're talking about Eastern Jack. So for those in Kansas City, outside of Kansas City, the city is like most cities and states is split up geographically and racially. And in these enclaves, you have small political fiefdoms that typically benefit or horse trade across the board. So again, Jackson County, I haven't let off my stance that you guys have let the wool be pulled over your eyes. It is cool because nobody's paying attention, right? It's cool because now the tax issue is going to get fixed. Right. But nah, that's not what's gonna happen. So let's get into some of our national issues real quick. It's funny when you have libertarians and Republicans turning on each other. But the question remains the same. When we talk about Columbus Day, Indigenous Day, willingness to concede. Let's listen to
So U.S. policy is now to blow
let's
people.
listen to Ron Paul real quick. Now on the press set, this video, he's actually talking about the boats that are being exploded off the coast by the United States. Now, the reason I'm playing this is to go into some of the domestic videos that we're seeing that highlight the same underlying train of thought. And the more we normalize this and allow it to persist, you're almost guaranteed to have the outcome.
So U.S. policy is now to blow people to smithereens if they are suspected of being in a terrorist gang. Then maybe someone should take the time to explain the evidence of their terrorism. Critics of this whole terrorist labeling charade, such as Matthew Petty at Reason, explain what we are doing in practice means that a terrorist is whoever the executive branch decides to label one. You are a terrorist because you are labeled one. You can be killed because you are called a terrorist. But where in all of this is some sort of evidence that you are guilty of something?
Now, again, he's talking about the boats being blown up, but doesn't that sound? Don't tell me I got them on the same drive. All right, doesn't that sound a lot similar to what we're seeing at the national level when it comes to groups being classified as Antifa or groups being classified as facilitating terrorists or the potential of drug connectivity across the board connected to the Venezuelan terrorists, meaning this drugs is being sold in low income areas. And I'm going back looking for the video as I talk. You're gonna have to give me more information on the Mexican-born mayor in New Orleans and what's actually happening down there. I do catch a lot of your information online, but you got me on the mayor. I know you have a lot of population. What's the word I want to use? You have a lot of gentrification that's going on down there. And as we talk about gentrification, and I get to the videos in order, I want to throw this in because I asked about colonization, subjugation, Columbus Day or Indigenous Day. And all of this has a meaning, and I'll get to it.
For running for a third. So let me ask you about Trump 2028. We have a 22nd Amendment, which bars anybody from running for a third term. Do you think that that's not a barrier for him, or how do you see that?
I think that there are many different alternatives that at the appropriate time after the midterms in 26, we will roll out. But I think there are many different alternatives to make sure that.
Now, we started going through the Constitution a few segments ago, and we actually hit some of the presidential powers, the legislative powers in the extension process. But what we haven't thought about as a group, as a chat, or as a nation is the possibility of re-ratification of the law. So there's a certain thing that can happen in the states. That's what he's talking about, possibilities and alternatives. So we're already seeing First Amendment deleted, Third Amendment questionable, due process thrown out the board. We're cool with search and seizure. We're cool with see if I can get it to play right. Why is it not playing as soon as I want it?
We in this FBI will go after with the criminals with a vengeance. We will not rest until we find every single seed, money, donor, organization, and funding mechanism that we have. And I want to echo the Secretary's comments on Scott Bessent, who's allowing us to map out these networks through their financial criminal activities, which has been going on for decades. And I would like,
So, Operation Summer Heat, all 55 states, surveillance on violent criminals and crime. Then we have the follow-up, right?
we in this FBI will go after with the criminals with a vengeance. We will not rest until we find every single seed, money, donor, organization, and funding mechanism that we have. And I want to echo the Secretary's comments on.
So who are terrorists, right? We've already heard about Antifa, and we keep hearing about the criminal connectivity. In Chicago, you're seeing ICE, and you're seeing FBI, ATF, and all the alphabet boys put together. In DC, you see, I forgot the National Guard, but these have different plays, and I'm gonna break it down. In DC, you see what? You see the National Guard, you see ICE. In Missouri, our senator said what? I still haven't got his video, but I have his picture. Where's it at? Our senator said what about Kansas City? And again, he's from St. Louis, but he's worked with the president's administration to have the largest influx of cash that we've seen in the domestic city so far, according to his own language. And we have this, as I'm finding that video, just for shits and giggles.
I'm sorry, look, I did nothing criminal, I did nothing illegal. And there's hit piece after hit piece after hit piece.
You took $50,000 in cash in a bag from an undercover FBI agent to help them win government.
So when Columbus came, or when the founders started cementing the colonies, what did they do? Question. Columbus Day, Indigenous Day. What did they do when they started cementing the colonies? They started creating laws, right? And the natives started following those laws that they created, which is interesting that people allow people just to create laws with no input, or regardless if the law is unconstitutional, and they follow it. And I said unconstitutional just to have a backing of at least one general.
Defend, you're trained upon, and I will provide my advice to the Title X commander that Oregon National Guard men and women they serve two purposes: one, to defend America, and two, to protect Oregonians. And so by serving in this mission, they will be protecting any protesters at the ICE facility. They're trained upon, and I will.
This is not a joke. The fact that he has to testify that they're going to protect protesters should let you know that you shouldn't be sitting at home thinking it's a game. The fact that you're seeing women and children being snatched out, I think this is one, being snatched out in the middle of the
Immigrant
daylight.
advocates in Chicago, the ruling finding ICE is conducting illegal arrests in violation of a consent decree that limits warrantless arrests in the Chicago area of responsibility. That includes Illinois and 5 neighboring states.
So what does the consent decree that says that they can't do it mean when they continue to do it? What does it mean when the president...
Which is always very risky, because if I didn't do well, you'd be the first to be blaring it. And I had a perfect score. And one of the doctors said he's almost never seen a perfect score. I had a perfect score. I got the highest score. And that made me feel good. When they asked, would I like to do one? I said, yeah. I said, did Obama do it? No. Did Bush do it? No. Did Biden do it? I definitely did. Biden wouldn't have gotten the first 3 questions right. No, Biden didn't do it. Biden should have done it.
Now, honestly, he sounds like a fucking idiot, right? That didn't make any sense. He had the cognitive test. He did better than anybody. But then again, going back to my man Bannon, we hear this. And I'm trying to get you guys to be more aware and definitely not do no Antifa shit, which is protesting, making flyers. Here's our senator, the one I was looking for. Missouri senator cites National Guard's presence in D.C. as option to curtail crime in Kansas City. They're coming here. The difference between D.C. and Chicago is the increase in what you have to do in the law. And this again is why people should be paying attention. In Chicago, we're seeing the ATF, DEA, FBI, etc., roll in with the National Guard, violating due process, violating your rights to secure papers. I got that video in here. Violating your right to secure papers. That it? No, that's not it. Give me a minute, chat. Again, I got all these videos in here. And I've started organizing them, but as new stuff goes on, obviously, we need to load more videos in. Where's it at? Fight back. Hold on. I think that's not it. I'll start here. Is this it? Let's see what this is. This isn't it, but this is another one that I want to talk about.
I can't hear people. It's going to be all back there.
Now she's 16 years old, driving down the street, gets pulled out the car, tossed on the ground. And these videos aren't new because you're seeing the proliferation of videos with people getting violated. But again, my question is, how long are we going to allow the violations to be normalized? How long are we going to allow optics like this and not?
As our friend President Donald, I have to tell you, I've seen a lot of
to the
American
underlying
presidents.
currency.
Seen them in the time that I've been here, and I've been here quite a lot of time. I've never seen anyone move the world so quickly, so decisively, so resolutely as our friend President Donald J. Trump.
Indigenous Day or Columbus Day? Did Columbus discover a new world, or did Columbus help extend an old world colony? And if an old world colony was extended, does that old world colony have more understanding than the masses that is not paying attention? Because we think this is about midterms. People say this is about immigrants or crime, but so far nothing is adding up. Not the Attorney General.
Attacks against our.
How many illegal immigrants are in Chicago?
This should be
Does anybody know?
I do, countless.
Watch the answer. It's easy.
What we have seen since January 20th, Senator Graham, is a 1,000% increase in violent attacks against our ICE officers.
Right. But I just want to know, is there like 10 or 100,000? Does anybody know?
Republicans eating Republicans now.
There have been multiple, and we have made multiple arrests, of course, involving violent gangs in Chicago, throughout Illinois.
Right.
So when you ask about the immigrants and immigration and how many immigrants are in Chicago, first thing she talks about is ICE agents getting attacked and then the gang percentage. We heard from our director of FBI, right, that there's 110,000 gang members in Chicago. That would be like 5 to 10% of the population of Chicago.
And crushing violent crime. And President Trump sent us into these cities quietly.
Build a Hispanic Heritage Month party.
This is the one I actually want y'all to see.
You learned that the Chicago city streets have 110,000 gang members. That's right, you heard me right. They had 1,200 shootings this year alone, 360 homicides. When politicians choose to side with those metrics and not their citizenry, thank God we have President Trump.
And they call it Chirac. And the numbers that he's giving it would definitely justify it being considered a third world country. But do they actually have 110,000 people, or are we seeing a reclassification
To all
of American
Americans,
citizens?
it should be clear to all Americans that we have a very serious left-wing terror threat in our country. Radicals associated with the domestic terror group Antifa that you've heard a lot about lately, and I've heard a lot about them for 10 years.
And I use them because, again, that's a blanket terminology for what? It's a blanket terminology for those that pull it up. For those that Antifa political activism includes nonviolent methods, direct actions, flyer campaigns, mutual aid, protest marches, community organizing, digital doxing, harassment, property damage. Right? So that seems almost like what our senator was saying when he was talking about the dangerousness of killing folks with no classification, no reason. Right? Let's go back to Ryan real quick. Because again, this is a libertarian Republican.
The U.S. policy is now to blow people to smithereens if they are suspected of being in a terrorist gang, then maybe someone should take the time to explain the evidence of their terrorism. Critics of this whole terrorist labeling charade, such as Matthew Petty at Reason, explain what we are doing in practice means that a terrorist is whoever the executive branch decides to label one.
Really?
You are a terrorist because you are labeled one. You can be killed because you are called a terrorist.
Really?
But where in all of this is some sort of evidence that you are guilty of something?
Now tell me the
Since
difference.
the U.S. policy is now to blow people.
Tell me the difference between
The
this and this. Because I can't find the difference other than
Christine Long is going to be at somebody's house.
who is currently under subjugation.
Like raiding my house like it was a show.
I don't know why that's blue.
I was whole team.
Interesting. I don't know why that's blue. Let me go back. This is the video of the young lady that
Christine Long is going to be at somebody's house. Whole team, a lot of people like raiding my house like it was a show.
Sabrina Medina showed us surveillance video of agents searching her Huntington Park home at 6 a.m. this morning. She captured Secretary Kristi Noem in the streets with agents.
You never heard that, Christine.
So now those that are speaking out are just getting rushed up on. And this is normal. This is being co-signed by everybody that sits at home and does nothing. This is being co-signed by everybody that allows, is this one? That allows the president to sit there and run wild. And what is the end game? Is the end game quelling crime across the board? Or is the end game a little bit more cynical? Let's listen.
Who knows, maybe we'll pay off our $35 trillion, hand them a little crypto check, right? We'll hand them a little Bitcoin and wipe out our $35 trillion.
If you wanted to be more prominent in America, how will that work?
Oh, it's going to work easily. It's already prominent. It's moving along. It's very loosely regulated. That's one of the reasons it's moving along, but it is a different form of a currency.
All right, so domestic turmoil, potential, I got one more for it, potential domestic turmoil.
For running for a third. So let me ask you about Trump 2028. We have a 22nd Amendment, which bars anybody from running for a third term. Do you think that that's not a barrier for him, or how do you see that?
I think that there are many different alternatives that at the appropriate time after the midterms in 26.
Now we're talking about the 22nd Amendment. And so far, they've probably broken, I don't want to count, but so far, they've probably broken about 6 or 7 amendments standing, right?
There's no doubt in my mind, cryptocurrency is going to replace traditional finance, TradFi, and it's happening so fast. I mean, cryptocurrency is literally outpacing, the growth of the internet, in the 90s, Charles. And I've never.
I'm gonna get back to the crypto and the changing the dollars. I don't disagree with you. They don't care about blacks, period. But the real question is how much does blacks and melanated people care about themselves, right? I can give a fuck what my next door neighbor thinks about me. That don't mean shit to me at all, right? What means something to me is the resources that I got and who's going to try to take them from me. That's when I have an issue. So it doesn't matter who is for you or who is against you. What are you going to do to make sure you're solvent and secure, regardless of who has what agenda? That's the real question. And that's the reason I believe people think people don't care about them. When you going to build your army? When you going to build your base? When you going to secure your perimeter? Now I ain't got to worry about who wants to come over, who doesn't want to come over here, because this is my perimeter. You got to worry about what's inside the perimeter. So I do 100% agree with you. They don't care about blacks, period. But the question is standing is, when are we going to care about ourselves? I asked about Indigenous Day or Columbus Day. And it's almost hard to consciously look through the Americas and not see black imprint. Now I'm using black as a culturalistic term right now because of melanation on texturized, or melanation being texturized to, what's the word I want to use? To show skin texture. And you can see this in native art. You can see this in cave drawings. You can see this in some of the hidden artifacts from the Grand Canyon and all type of other areas. You can see this in South America. You can see this and hear this in the culturalistic telling of those in South America when they get to breaking down the Spaniards, the Mexicans, and the Africans, and the whole colonization of that area down there, right? So I'm not going to get on that tangent tonight because we have whole shows dedicated to that. But when are we going to care enough to stop caring what other people want us to be in and control our position? When are we going to stop using the excuse that you want me to be second? When are we going now I'm getting on my rant. When are we going to stop supporting the NFL for buck breaking Shedeur Sanders? I'm not laughing at Shedeur because I like him, but it's going with my point. They're buck breaking him in front of America, in front of football fans, right? And most football fans are still happily watching football while talking about it. You see it from all the commentators too. And the boy can actually play. But we're seeing buck breaking and we're cool with it. When Trayvon Morton and Eric Garner were murdered on, I'm having slow connection, so apologize for not reading it all the way. When Eric Garner, Trayvon Morton and Eric Garner were murdered on TV, they knew America was still. Again, I'm not disagreeing with you, man. But let's just go with who you're talking about. I'll throw one more in there too, because we have Mike Brown here in Missouri that was murdered, left on the ground. What did the community that resembles them the most do? Right? So when we talk about Trayvon Morton, Eric Garner, and yes, they was murdered, and we have several other folks that have been murdered. Shit, we got what, 10, 12? I don't want to be wrong on the number, but about 10 or 12 black people that just been found in the bayou down in Houston. Right? So, yeah, thank you. I think it was 10 or 12. I don't want to be wrong on it, but we're not riding. Right? And I'm going to read this for a purpose. I'm reading this for a purpose. Right? We're not riding. So when we look at and I'm not encouraging any of this. When we look at the definition of Antifa, their definition is political activism, nonviolent, direct action such as posters, flyers, mutual aid, protests, and marches, and organizing. We did that during the civil rights era, right? So I'm not encouraging any of that. But what I do believe is that humans learn from observation and participation, and we should be very observant of what's in front of us. And if we're observant of what's in front of us, we should participate different, right? If this is proving the point, I think I knocked my. If this is barrier training, first thing you'll want to do is observe it and not run into them with 2 rolls of carpet, because obviously they train for people running into them with 2 rolls of carpet, right? And I play it again. Right? This is the same thing that you're seeing in reverse when I say we shouldn't run into them. This is the same thing you're seeing when you see this. When you see the president and our head of the military talk about training grounds, Trump proposes using American cities as training grounds for armed forces during the meeting with the generals. That's the same thing you're saying with the people running into them with the carpet. Pre-planning, strategy, and training. So the art of war teaches you to use and utilize everything that's used against you, right? We're seeing and being taught how to react. You should never be this guy, right?
Listen, who's going to win this battle? The one with that.
You should never be this guy.
Got hammered by the axe while the other band members kept drumming. Ouch!
Right? And that's what America is right now. America's watching the person next to him get hit with the axe, and that's still playing the fucking drums. Wondering why the beat hasn't changed. Well, the beat's not going to change, and marginalized communities aren't going to be respected, and black folks aren't going to be cared for until we show the willingness and the standalone desire to care for ourselves. We're going to see this, and it gets worse.
Are we free to go? Are we free to go? Are we free to go?
This is dangerous.
Are we free to go? Are we free to go?
Extremely dangerous.
Are we free to go? 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 Are we free to go?
This is more than enough to be active, right? They're not doing anything really in this video, neither. The young black gentleman, and I say young because looking at them, that dude probably, and I don't know, he probably about 13, 14, man. If that. And I know he's taller than the ICE agent, but that dude, I know he's probably a little cutter than the ICE agent right there. But that dude, if I met him outside, I'd give him about 14, 15. I'd be surprised if he was 16. I actually would be. See who else is in here. Yeah, I'm giving him about 14, maybe 15. These are kids. The elder, the adult, the old man in the back, they don't even talk to him. And I'm doing this so you can see. You see that little girl in the back? I only think she's 14. I would give her somewhere between 12 and 13. Right? Now everybody got their phones out. It's apparent there's no real reason, but look at all the law enforcement and armed officers, ATF, FBI. Why do they have them there? Because it's a perimeter, right? In which ICE agents can arrest people and that they can't. But by the American populace sitting back and allowing the commingling and collusion of all agencies, you're agreeing to the dismantling of the Constitution because all these agencies have different barriers, right? This is why search and seizure isn't not the only reason, but this is one of the reasons why search and seizure isn't applicable. And again, this is only happening because we allow it to happen.
Vaccines.
No, I don't want this.
Obviously, there's something.
That's the wrong one. I think I got one more in here. I kind of got put back by the videos of the county people because I was actually going to edit those videos and put them out. But we talked about the Attorney General, Assistant Attorney General that resigned last week, only to follow up with the arrest and the prosecution.
This is nothing, all because I did my job as the New York State Attorney General. These charges are baseless, and the president's own public statements make clear that his only goal is political retribution at any cost. The president's actions are a grave.
So my question to those that call themselves descendants of natives and aborigines and all of those folks, what do you think your ancestors did when they watched the laws be changed in front of them? And then they followed consent decrees and treaties that left them with little to nothing and living on hard rock land, and then to be replaced. If history repeats itself and we have the ability to understand what happened to those before us, why y'all following the same paradigm? What can we do if people don't believe in democracy? They organize. I'm gonna read backwards just to make sure I get them. And I appreciate the way, so I didn't miss it. They organized and they were killed and infiltrated. Just because I'll be on my man Fred, let me start right there. They organized and they was killed and infiltrated. Yeah, that's a lesson of the past that I believe we should learn from. I believe we should learn from Fred Hampton's over preparedness, but believe in close camaraderie and allowing people into his domicile. I think we should learn from Malcolm's aggressive posture, but failure to believe that people that look like him could actually be utilized against him. I think we should learn from the lessons of Marcus Garvey and the accumulation of wealth and ownership. I think we should even learn from cats like Frederick Douglass, who's often not paid attention to, but at the time of slavery, he was convening with presidents. I think we should learn from the Black Panthers, who seen the laws change as they was applying current laws, seeing the network infiltrated, like you said, from federal institutions. Now we're talking about J. Edgar Hoover, the presidency, and all this is documented, right? So we know from documentation in history that the federal government would create opposition and control mechanisms to colonize and control communities, right? We know from history and facts that so-called leaders will be murdered for trying to lead, right? Cool. then that's exactly what you do. And the people don't believe in now democracy is a funny word and a funny process, because in order for democracy to work, people do have to buy in. And that's why I'm showing these videos and doing the political commentary, because either we sit back and we allow what little privileges and leverage that we have to create independency evaporate in front of us, or we aggressively stop it now. And it has to be aggressively stopped now. Our president has only been in office for about 8 months. We've already seen the foundation for switching of currency. We've seen the solidification of militarized zones, and we're seeing that in some of our biggest cities. We've seen continuous court cases challenged and ignored, and we've seen all of the basis premises of the Constitution erased, all underneath the illusion of security. So democracy is a funny thing, because if people don't care enough not to be strangled, then democracy or creating individual rules will never work. I think the more conscious people are, not of partisan politics or anything like that, but the more conscious people are over God-given rights and ownership, the easier it becomes to create democracy, because we're talking about shit that either we give up and suffer under, or shit we give up and benefit under. Example, everybody pays taxes. Taxes have not been cut underneath this 13-day government shutdown. Right? Taxes ain't went nowhere. But your services or right, they said the biggest contingent issue is healthcare, and they're trying to say it goes to immigrants, but it's illegal to give it to immigrants. But if the biggest issue is healthcare, why is that an issue? Everybody pays taxes. The same with education, right? When I was serving in Missouri, one of the funniest things that I found was rural Republicans and their educational centers. And we'll get to talking, and they get to talking about how much money Kansas City was supposed to be receiving for education. And then we'll be looking at their schools and all of that good stuff. But my point is, rural areas in Kansas City, both schools is fucked up. And the deeper I got to mess with Republicans, I was like, why? Like, y'all try to blame Democrats for ciphering money down here and all this good shit, but education should be standard, not standard as opposed to putting everybody in the same peg, but standardized as far as options and opportunities and electives. Thinking about the organization in St. Louis, many of the Black Lives Matter family, there's two things though. And I'm not sure who I got on here for St. Louis right now, so I don't want to go too deep, but I got some folks up there that I would like to invite. But when you talk about the Black Lives Matter folks, two different people. You have the real organizers on the ground. I don't want to say the wrong names, dog. You had the real organizers on the ground, and then you had the imprint of, like, I want to say his name was Mackey, the dude that used to wear the blue vest. He wasn't part of those cats that was on the ground. He was actually part of a network that was traveling around to Utah and a few other states. So I said that to say that you had infiltration over cats that was actually on the ground. D. Seals, one of the cats that got murdered. There was a cat named D. Seals. He got murdered. I'm not saying the parking lot, but I may be wrong about the parking lot. It was at night. The very next day, the Balls, Carlos Ball brother and all them, they was out there and they was picking up shell cases. And they had this on live. And the reason I remember this is it was extremely interesting because D. Seals had got murdered, shot up, burnt in the car. There were several on the ground activists in St. Louis that had got shot, burnt in the car. These are on the ground activists. But going back to D Seals, when dude was out there picking up bullets and shell cases, and I found it interesting that not only was he on live and he's picking up all these damn shell cases, but in the paper, it's something about there was no evidence. There was hella evidence here. Hella evidence. The same when you talk about the proliferation of murders that was happening up there. But I want to draw a distinction, and I don't want to go into names except for D Seals and Carlos Ball, so I can remember those real easy and know where they was at. With the murders up there, those were on the ground, grassroots, homegrown organizers. And then you had the national imprint of Black Lives Matter, which was wholeheartedly different than some of the organic organizers that I've seen. And going back to your comment about infiltration, that's again one of the things that we shouldn't be going for. You shouldn't be going for slogans and swing groups. Not talking to you, talking in general. Slogan and swing groups that come through. We should be going for organic rise. We organize this shit. Not saying everybody on the block gonna get along, and that's cool. But we organize this with those that are like-minded, and that's where we generate our power source from. That's where we generate our resources from. That's where we generate our political representatives from. National pushback. I think national pushback has to come immediately, and that can come in all type of forms of non-participation. Because right now, America is currently, and that's something peaceful people could do. People can peacefully refuse to participate across the board. And they say, well, it was send the stocks and it was send the market crash, but that's what they're doing. Right now, we're seeing them playing with the stock market, the crypto market, and population insecurity. We're seeing them play with that in front of us. Now, I know you know about the difference. Sometimes when I do that, I'll be trying to talk to everybody, so I'll take a question. And so don't necessarily think I'm targeting you, but I'll take a question and I try to expand on it. But I can already tell where you at. So again, I don't think I was talking directly to you, and I do know you know the difference. But sometimes I do that trying to just expand with the conversation. But this shit's serious, people. When you see the FCC shut down, when you see
internally investigate those involved. We've already disbanded the public corruption squad at WFO. We've already jettisoned these people at the FBI that were involved in politicization of law enforcement. And if there needs to be a criminal investigation, you better believe it, we're on it.
When you hear comments like that and you see what we're seeing, you should understand that regime change and recolonization is mandated. We get rid of law enforcement that doesn't agree with us. You can't, he said politicize, but you can't be a political law enforcement unless you're a sheriff. Y'all know that, right? You can't be. It's the same with the military. That's what makes it so problematic that we allow our chief general to get away with whatever. I think this goes back.
This is supposed to be an oversight here.
Oversight?
Excuse me, you can attack me after my time is over.
You've attacked all of us, including President Trump, for your
You can
entire
attack me later, and I know you've got plenty of canned attacks. We've heard them all day today.
Canned attacks on you?
This is supposed to be.
No one needs a canned attack on you.
Regular order, Madam Chair. I'm trying to speak. This is supposed to be an oversight here of the Justice Department. And it comes in the wake of an indictment called for by the president of one of his enemies. This is supposed to be an oversight hearing, and it comes in the wake of revelations that a top administration official took $50,000 in a bag, and this department made that investigation go away. This is supposed to be an oversight hearing when dozens of prosecutors have been fired simply because they worked on cases investigating the former president. This is another
What about the fires in California?
And
Do you
this
care
is
about that,
supposed to be,
Senator Schiff?
this is supposed to be an oversight hearing in which members of Congress can get serious answers to serious.
Didn't I show you all those videos tonight? Didn't I show you the video of the director of Homeland Security talking about he did nothing wrong, and the lady coming back, well, shit, you on camera for taking $50,000, bro. The fuck are you talking about, man? You did this shit. You know what I mean? They wouldn't even investigate him, and he did it. Our top position for justice refuses to answer simple questions. And then the masses follow rules that are being created on the fly. Colonization, Columbus Day, or Indigenous Day. Columbus Day, passive acceptance of colonization. Columbus Day, passive agreement of reclassification of history. Columbus Day, by POWs, support genocide of their own people. Indigenous Day cannot be called Indigenous Day if indigenous people aren't willing to do some indigenous shit.
That there is a square inch of blood in this city where a citizen doesn't feel safe is unacceptable. This is Memphis. This is the United States of America, and all that is done. It's over. It's finished. The idea that there is a square inch of blood.
So y'all can think they playing with you if you want. And y'all can think this shit has anything to do with crime or reversing.
This morning saying that we're going to start looking across the board at layoffs and at agencies that we feel do not best serve the American taxpayer, that may need to be halted or permanently cut. And that's why the president put out a statement this morning saying that we're going to start looking across the board.
If y'all can't see this shit's a realignment in front of y'all, if y'all can't see that all of this is happening only, what do you think this is? For those that have eyes, what do you think this is? Do you think this is a show of force where the military is walking through the park? Do you think this is a show of force and training? Or is it a show of force, training, in live recon, right? Because in battlefields, you see this. You'll see the military go in large numbers, walk through urban areas for several reasons. One, it demonstrates authority, power. Two, it creates an underlying understanding of the demographics, land, and how people are going to respond when they see it. Right, you get used to the natives and how the natives react. And three, it normalizes so when shit go down, nobody says nothing. But what is this? You tell me. That's Emma. They already got bases in multiple states. Multiple states. How much longer before this is us? How much longer before curfews are mandated across the board? And with that, I'm about to get off for the night chat. I'm going to come up with a cool slogan for getting off. But again, Jackson County, you have a new executive. We will do an in-depth expose on the Lavotas. That should be fun. The currency, I'm going to do a breakdown on that. So I wanted to highlight that tonight because playing this in closing, this isn't a coincidence. These aren't coincidences.
Who knows, maybe we'll pay off our $35 trillion, hand them a little crypto check, right? We'll hand them a little Bitcoin and wipe out our $35 trillion.
But how do you want it to be more prominent in?
So again, thank y'all for watching. If y'all have questions, I will definitely get back in there and try to answer them. But Indigenous Day or Columbus Day, willing subjugation, willing buying in to the solidification of rules that are given, that are not created, to only be followed by the masses for no reason other than the fact that they're created, to allow our emperor to rule, to normalize this
I'm living
press
proof that you
conference.
can recover from TDS. I had strong Trump derangement syndrome for probably 8 years. This is one of the reasons I recovered from it. And by the way, it's much better to not have TDS. I'm happier, I'm healthier, more successful. I even think I got a little more attractive. After I got
So if y'all got TDS,
yes.
Get rid of it.
You know, I'm a reporter in Seattle, and frankly, I could not care any less what any of you have to say about this meeting. Could not care any less. We're not here for you. I'm not here to convince any.
Oh, is it?